What's going on, everyone? Welcome to week 17 of my NFL predictions. Last week, I went 11-5, putting my current record at 169-71. And starting off the week on Christmas Day, which is today, we got the Chiefs taking on the Steelers. The Chiefs doing Chief things, winning a close game against an opponent they probably should have beaten by more points. Steelers got absolutely punched in the mouth by their division rival Ravens. And that was a tough one for the Steelers because now the Ravens are probably going to win the division. If I had to guess, I would say the Ravens are going to win the division because they have an easier schedule and I think they would also have the tiebreaker if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, this will be an interesting game. I think it'll be kind of lower scoring. I don't think it's going to be a shootout because the Steelers never get into shootouts and the Chiefs don't get into shootouts anymore because they're boring as hell and they just win close-ass games all the time. I see that happening again. I see the Chiefs winning this one with a score of 21-20. And later on Christmas Day, we have the Ravens taking on the Texans. The Ravens blew out the Steelers last week, and the Texans, they lost to the Chiefs last week. So, yeah, both the teams we just talked about played these two teams. So, yeah, that's ironic that all four of those teams are playing on Christmas Day, but the NFL scheduling people probably knew what they were doing there. And, I mean, I have to go with the Ravens here. I mean, they've been playing a lot better. And, I mean, I know it's a home game for the Texans, but at the same time, the Texans, they haven't been that good. I mean, they're not bad because 9-6 is a good record, but they just haven't been to the standard that people had put on them before the season, which were very high expectations. And, I mean, they also lost Tank Dell for the rest of the season and a good chunk of the next season, too. It's just not looking good for the Texans. And so I'm going to go with the Ravens here, 27-17. And the next day on Thursday Night Football, the day after Christmas, we have the Seahawks taking on the Bears. The Seahawks losing to the Vikings last week, and the Bears losing to the Lions last week. And, I mean, definitely not surprising that these teams lost, especially the Bears, because, I mean, they're just playing better teams, and that's usually what happens, and that's just how the NFL is. I mean, top dogs eat, and the lower dogs, they don't eat, I guess. I don't know how to phrase that, but point is, both these teams just aren't on the level with the other top contenders. And I'm going to go with the Seahawks here just because I still think they're a solid team, and the Bears have been a mess. They've lost 9 in a row, and I think it's going to be 10 in a row after this, after the Seahawks beat them 20-13. And we're going to head to Saturday for our third day of football. We got the Chargers taking on the Patriots. The Chargers able to beat the Broncos last week in a game that kept the Broncos from clinching a playoff spot and kept the Chargers, playoff hopes alive, because if they would have lost that game, that would have really tanked their playoff chances. And then the Patriots, they lost to the Bills, but they actually put up a fight. I was honestly impressed with the Patriots putting up a fight. And I think it's going to be more of the same here. I don't think they're going to beat the Chargers, but I also don't think they're going to lay down and die. Like, they're a feisty 3-12 team, and that's the best kind of 3-12 teams. You never know. Because they could win this game. They really could, but I just don't see it. The Chargers are more talented. They have way more to play for. So I'm going to say the Chargers win a close one, 26-20. All right, next game on Saturday, we got my Denver Broncos taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Broncos losing to the Chargers last week, and the Bengals able to beat the Browns last week. And this is a very important game for both teams. It's important for the Broncos because they could clinch a playoff spot if they win this game. And the Bengals, they have to win this game. If they don't win this game, they're eliminated. So there's a lot riding for both these teams, especially the Bengals. And this is really not going to be an easy game for the Broncos. I could definitely see us losing this game because we're on the road. We're playing an extremely desperate team because they have to win to stay alive regardless of what happens. But I am still going to pick the Broncos. And the reason I'm doing that is because since we played on Thursday night last week, I think that's going to help us just enough to beat the Bengals. Plus, I also trust Sean Payton a lot more than I trust Zach Taylor. And no, I'm not being biased. I actually do feel that way about both coaches. So yeah, I got the Broncos winning a thriller 21-20. All right, on Saturday night, we got the Cardinals taking on the Rams. The Cardinals lost to the Panthers last week, and they got eliminated from the playoffs because of that. And the Rams able to take care of business against the Jets. And it wasn't a pretty game, but it was a good week for the Rams regardless because they're game up on the Seahawks. And they also beat the Seahawks the first time they played. So they could really get some separation. They could clinch the division, actually, if they win this game and the Seahawks lose their game. So we'll see what happens there. And I gotta pick the Rams. I mean, they have way more to play for. And I mean, the Cardinals, they could play spoiler, but I really don't think they will. They haven't been playing their best ball lately. They started 6-4, and they've kind of gotten worse ever since that point. So I'm gonna go with the Rams here, 27-21. All right, this is the real football day, Sunday. Our fourth day of football this week. This is a crazy week. We got the Cowboys taking on the Eagles. The Cowboys winning on Sunday Night Football against the Buccaneers. Big upset for them. And the Eagles, they actually lost to the Commanders in a game where Jalen Hurts got hurt, and they just couldn't close the game out with Kenny Pickett. And it's just unfortunate he got injured. And the Cowboys, I mean, they basically won for nothing because they're eliminated from the playoffs. And, I mean, this game, let's be honest, I mean, I trust Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts because I'm assuming he's going to play in this game a hell of a lot more than I trust Mike McCarthy and Cooper Rush because both these teams are pretty talented, but Eagles are more talented, their coaching's been better. They have a lot more to play for. They could still get the 1 seed if things fall their way. So I'm going to pick the Eagles to win this one 31-21. All right, next up we have the Panthers taking on the Buccaneers. The Panthers playing a little spoiler, beating the Cardinals last week. And the Bucs lost to the Cowboys last week, as I just mentioned. And, I mean, I'm going to be honest, I think this is actually going to be a good game. The Panthers are obviously out of the playoffs because 4-11 is not going to be a good record to get you in the playoffs. And, I mean, last time these teams played, it was actually a really close game. It went into overtime, and the Panthers were, so close to beating them last time. And I'm going to pick the Bucs to win, but I do think it's going to be a close game. I mean, the Panthers, they're a tough team. They're one of the tougher 4-11 teams to play. I mean, that's not saying much, but I mean, Panthers fans, they got to root for something. And Bryce Young looks really good compared to what we were seeing at the start of the season. So it was pretty ugly. But I mean, the Bucs are at home. They absolutely need to win this game, and I think they will. I'm going to say the Bucs win this one 22-18. All right, we got an AFC East matchup next between the Jets and the Bills. The Jets losing to the Rams last week, and the Bills able to beat the Patriots last week in a game where they probably should have won by more points, but a win is a win, and it's a division rival, so I can kind of give them a little bit of slack there. And, I mean, the Jets, it's just been such a nightmare season for them. I think Jets fans just want this season to be over, and I don't blame them. It's been a terrible season for them. Same definitely can't be said for the Bills, though. They could still get the 1 seed if things fall their way. So they're hoping they can win this game and the Chiefs lose out. So I do think they're going to win this game. I think it's going to be close because it's a division rival, and division rivalries are just different because the teams play each other so more competitively just because they know each other better. But anyway, I got the Bills winning a close one, 24-21. All right, next up, we got the Colts taking on the Giants. The Colts beating the Titans last week in a very sketchy game by the Colts. And the Giants losing to the Falcons last week to a rookie Michael Penix Jr. And, I mean, as sketchy as the Colts looked in that game against the Titans, I cannot pick any team against the Giants right now. The Giants suck ass. They're one of the worst teams I've ever seen in recent memory. And, like, they just don't care. And I don't blame them for not caring. And I think Giants fans at this point are just hoping the Giants lose out and secure that number 1 overall pick. And I got them doing that. I think Giants are going to play terrible. I think this game's going to be pretty fucking unwatchable, if I'm being honest. So I'm going to say Colts win this one 17-3. From one unwatchable game to an arguably even more unwatchable one, we have the Raiders taking on the Saints. Raiders winning last week against the Jags, and the Saints losing to the Packers last week in a game where they got shut out. And, I mean, both these teams are eliminated from the playoffs. I'm pretty sure there's 2 games where both teams are eliminated, and this is one of them. But the other one I think is Jags-Titans. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right on that. And, I mean, like, both teams need to lose. Both teams would benefit by losing. I mean, they're not going to say that. They're going to say that they're going to play for pride or whatever it is, but, you know, I'm going to go with the Saints, I guess. It's just, the Raiders suck. And they suck so bad they can't even tank properly. They won, but they're not winning this week. I got the Saints winning 21-10. And next up, we got another game that doesn't matter. We got the Titans taking on the Jags in AFC South Toilet Bowl. And yeah, basically all the stuff I said about the last game, Saints and Raiders, kind of applies here. It's just like why, like, who besides Titans and Jags fans are gonna sit down and choose this game as the 1 o'clock game? Like, it'll be played. It's gonna be absolutely terrible, and we'll see who fucks up their tank by winning this game. And I think that team is gonna be the Jags. I got them winning this one 13-10. Alright, starting the 4 o'clock slate, we have our first game that's not completely god-awful in a minute. We have the Dolphins taking on the Browns in a somewhat decent game. You know, the Dolphins were able to beat the 49ers last week, and the Browns were unable to win last week against the Bengals last week. And, you know, it's a tough spot for the Dolphins because they have to win out and hope other things go their way. So we'll see if those said things happen. The Browns aren't that good of a team. I do think they are a better 3-12 team than some of the other teams I've brought up, but they're still 3-12. So I'm going to say the Dolphins win a close one, 15-13. Alright, our next game is, in my opinion, the best game of the week. We have the Packers taking on the Vikings. The Packers able to punch their spot in the playoffs last week, beating the Saints, and the Vikings able to beat the Seahawks last week to keep their fight alive for that number 1 seed. And this is going to be a really good game. You've got 2 teams that most definitely know each other. One of the most competitive rivalries in sports, Packers and Vikings. Oh, get your popcorn ready because this game will be so good. For lack of better word, I suppose. I don't know how to word that. I do think the Vikings are going to win this game. You could go either way with this game just because both these teams are, in my opinion, Super Bowl contenders. So it's going to be a really good game. And I have the Vikings winning a close one, 30-28. All right, on Sunday Night Football, we have the Falcons taking on the Commanders. The Falcons able to beat the Giants last week with a rookie quarterback making his first career start. And the Commanders able to upset the Eagles last week in a game where Jalen Hurts got injured and the Commanders had 5 turnovers. But when you aren't playing the starting quarterback, sometimes you can get away with victories like that. And the Commanders did just that. And honestly, I think this will be a good game too. You've got a team in the Falcons where if they can win out, they're in the playoffs. But if they don't win out, you've got a team right behind them that in the Bucs that is really eyeing that division. Both teams are just fighting for that division. And I'm going to go with the Commanders here just because they have a better record. I like Jaden Daniels a lot more than Michael Penix in this situation. And I also trust Dan Quinn a lot more than I trust Raheem Morris. And it's also at home for the Commanders, if I didn't already mention that. So I got the Commanders winning this close one, 23-20. And ending the week, we got our 5th day of football on Monday Night Football. Lions taking on the 49ers. The Lions able to beat the Bears last week. And the 49ers unable to beat the Dolphins last week. And they got eliminated from the playoffs as well, so they really have nothing to play for. And I definitely understand why this game was on Monday Night Football to start the season. And honestly, by the time you're watching this video, they could have flexed it out already for something better because the 49ers are just so injured. They're out of the playoffs. And I'm going to go with the Lions just because they're injured too, but they have a 1 seed to play for. And they have been playing a lot better than the 49ers. So easy pick here. I got the Lions winning this one 31-17. And that's going to do it for all the games. Here's all of my predictions lined up if you want to take a quick look at them. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a Merry Christmas, and I will see you in my next video.